1963. Here in Helena, to Kenneth and Vola Barrett. He was the fifth of 5 sons. He died January 2nd this year, San Diego, California, where he had lived for the past 25 or 30 years. Chet's mother, Mom, Vola, was extremely sick, giving birth to all of her children, and particularly so with Chet, her last one. She was 36. I was 18, and then Chet was born. So Mom and I are 18 years apart, and Chet and I are 18 years apart. I could probably be his father as easily as I could be Mom's son. While still a youth, Chet became very sick, causing him to drop out of school. He had been the star on his elementary and junior high basketball team. He was a really phenomenal ball player. Helena High coach looked forward to him joining the varsity in a few years. But he dropped out of school because of his health and was never able to continue playing basketball or schooling. But the fact that he didn't go to formal education or school didn't stop his love for knowledge and learning. Chet loved reading, and he just loved knowledge. 4 of his brothers are all college graduates, and Chet's probably smarter than all of us. He loved statistics. Chet kept all the statistics about the family, knew how many grandchildren Mom and Dad had, and nephews and nieces that he had. He kept that sort of thing. He loved reading about politics and religion. He was a good conservative Republican, as all of us were. And he loved reading biographies of the presidents of our country and of the church both. Ronald Reagan was his favorite president. Years after Chet had left home, 25 or 30 years, Chet still had his own bedroom in the basement of Mom's house. and had a picture of Ronald Reagan in there. And that was his room. None of the other brothers had a room, but Chet did. And the grandchildren would go up there to visit Mom and Dad. They were a little nervous about going in Chet's room. They'd try to sneak in his room, hoping that nobody knew that he was in it. It was almost a sacred room. Chet's room was. Mom and Dad loved that son, and we loved that brother. Chet left home at age 18, moved to Salt Lake City for a few years. Then he moved on down to San Diego, where he lived for 30 years. And as Dwight mentioned, those friends that Chet had in San Diego were his family. He knew them, associated with them, loved them, just like you and I love our own families. They were his family. I'm sorry that we're having his funeral so far away from all of his dear friends. He loved the ocean and the beach, the warmth and the sunshine of Southern California. His friends were innumerable as his personality just attracted everybody. Chet had a very sweet spirit. He was gentle, soft, easygoing. He attracted people, and he was loved by so many. He was a favorite of dozens of his nieces and nephews, many of them who are here today. They all wanted to hang around Chet, their Uncle Chet, at all of the reunions in Helena and Montana and Utah and Idaho. All the kids liked hanging around Chet. In fact, most of them were closer to Chet's age, and he was to them than he was to his brothers. And they all identified with him. Some of his nephews today are standing about 6'3" and 6'4". We'd all get together. Everybody would have to laugh because all these nephews of his would be stretching their necks trying to reach up to Chet. And he always had them beat by just a little bit. He'd look down at them like that. It was a lot of fun. Nobody ever reached his height. Chet was good-natured and a lot of fun to be around. We have lots of fond memories of this Christ-like man. He had a good spirit about him. good son, mom and dad, one of their favorites, maybe their favorite. He was a good brother, a good uncle, and he was a great friend. His life blessed all of us. Just 51 years of it. That's young. He was a member, of course, of the Church, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As his parents, mom and dad, were sealed together in the Idaho Falls Temple, Greg and Dwight and I were brought in as just little tiny fellas and sealed to mom and dad. And the last two brothers were born under the covenant, as was Chet. On Chet's death in the heavens, he is again reunited. Mom and dad. And all of his loved ones. Dwight's got two sons up there himself, Michael and Spencer, who died at just a young age, the prime of their lives. So he's reunited with a couple of those boys as well as mom and dad. And grandma and granddad. And I suspect that the very moment he died, he left here and he arrived there and he said, "Chet, welcome home." That's home. Heaven is home. Chet's preceded in death by his mom and dad and mentioned Dwight's two sons. And he's got 4 brothers. All 4 of his older brothers are still around today. Greg and I live in Idaho Falls. Dwight's down in Salt Lake, and another brother, Rhett's down in Provo. And Chet will be buried next to mom and dad. He's got a plot out there at Forest Vale Cemetery. Matthew Cowley was a great apostle in the church, and he served among the Polynesians, and he spoke at a funeral one time, and he said these are an exact quote that he said. He said, "The most beautiful experience of life is death." The most beautiful experience of life is death. And then I'll paraphrase this next quote. He said, "Those of you that are here today had some wonderful, beautiful, exciting experiences in life. Maybe the day you got married, maybe the day your child was born, or you returned home from a mission or something." He said, "Upon death," he said, "that'll be 1,000 times a greater experience than the most exciting experience we will ever have in this life." In conclusion, I bear testimony. I'm grateful for the gospel in my life and in the life of my dad, and all my brothers and our families. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, they are our dear friends. We have come to know them over the years. Grateful for sealing powers. We could be sealed together as families, and that we have been. We love you guys. You're our dearest friends. Our dear friends from Helena, thank you for coming. You are our family and we love you. Dwight said, "I love each of you and for all of our other families that have come from so far away. From Utah and Sherry, you're from Las Vegas and Idaho Falls. Thanks so much for coming. Salt Lake. And we pay our last respects to our dear brother. Grateful for his life. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen."
Amen.